Hello all, welcome to Up The Poshcast, the Poshcast made by the fans for the fans. Grab yourself a drink, put your feet up and listen in. And by the way, there could be some strong language.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Up The Poshcast. We are back with another episode and Peterborough United, wow, what a week. They are. If you spoke to any Posh fan a week ago, they would not be expecting us to have 6 points on the board and a trip to Wembley booked. We sealed the week with a win over Shrewsbury today. Wasn't the prettiest of games, but we got it done. I'm joined tonight by Ashley, myself, Charlie, Del, Lodz, and Max. I'll throw to you, Ash, first. What were your thoughts on today's game?
I think that's probably got to have been one of the weirdest 90 minutes that I think I've ever seen at London Road. Started off 8 seconds in, John Marquise elbowing Sam Hughes. Like, what a brain-dead decision. Like, he's totally thrown his team under the bus. Like, we know that Ainsworth likes to play some ugly football, but goodness gracious me, that was just a bizarre way to start a football game. And actually, I think that it really did impact the rest of the game. It sort of felt like that was like the high of the game, in that it only sort of felt like it got worse from there. And that was really strange, in that it felt like we were hanging on at points against 10 men. Obviously, it sort of helped Shrewsbury that it was a striker that got sent off rather than a defender. If it was a defender, then, you know, they'd have obviously been making subs, they'd have been changing shape and that sort of stuff. But the fact it was a striker was a bit weird. Obviously, a great corner from Teo Adun. I'm pretty sure that he looked at Steer after he'd scored. So I think they probably worked on that and noticed that and exploited that. So that was good to see. And then obviously, I mean, to concede the way that we did in another penalty, like, crikey, like, it just showed that we're still a little bit of a shambles at the back, even after sort of 2 positive results, a clean sheet last weekend and sort of digging in against Wrexham when we were under the cosh. And then, look, it was definitely a tough watch in the second half. We were all over them and we just could not put the ball in the back of the net. And I think that has to be a concern, realistically. We've won 3-1, but it probably should have been 5, 6 or 7. And you're not always going to have the luxury of playing football against 10 men. So, look, the result's the only thing that matters. We've come on before and we've said we've played great, but we've lost. So today, I don't think that we were that fantastic. Yes, we've only had the 2 days recovery. That's probably a slight impact on the players. And Shrewsbury have had the whole week off without playing. But, yeah, I think that there's definitely still work to be done on the pitch to get us to where we really need to be. But again, it's another step in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm with you on the red card, Ash. I think, you know, we wanted a fast-paced game. We have a lot of momentum going into the game. We wanted it to be sort of a furious start and to get at them early. And the red card just sort of knocked the stuffing out of the crowd, because it was such an early flashpoint. It made the atmosphere quite weird and flat. And then the first goal was very odd as well. And it just sort of, I think, I almost think we would have put in a better performance 11 versus 11, because we would have been, it would have been what we were preparing for. I mean, the script that obviously we worked on in training on Thursday and Friday was tossed straight out of the window after 10 seconds of the game because of a very, very strange moment in the game. So, yeah, I think it was, I'm not concerned about the performance at all. I think it was a professional performance. Other than that, that's one moment which, you know, probably blame it on Jed Steer, as much as he's been great with his catches recently. You know, he dropped one there. And then Wallen obviously a little bit clumsy in the box. But other than that, I felt like we were decently comfortable throughout the game. And I thought that was, you know, a testament to the way that we controlled it. I thought the midfield played very well and we saw it out with relative ease. So, yeah, I think it's a good performance. I think it's something to build on. It was a must-win game and we won it in quite a professional manner. So I don't think there can be any complaints about that.
You know, it was fucking weird. You know, I don't think I've ever seen a red card as quick as what I saw today. It was just like bizarre. It was definitely a red card in my opinion, no doubt about it. But I think I don't even know what to say. What possessed you to lead in with your elbow after like 10 seconds or 7 seconds, whatever it was. But anyway, so that happened. You know, down to 10 men. And then, you know, we got the goal, which was like excellent, superb. It's going to be one of them games. And then it just died off. It was like a bit of a, I don't know how can you explain it. It felt like a nothing game. It was just a flat game. There weren't no spark. It was just, I don't know. It was just an average game. I don't think you could say it was a shit game, and I don't think you say it was a good game. It was just an average. As you can see, most of my scores, that you know, when they come out the next day or two, that I think it was just a flat game. There's nothing into it. But I also thought the ref was pretty fucking shit. There could have been a couple more penalties within the game. There could have been a few more cards, but I don't know. I don't even know how to describe the game. It was just bizarre. It was bizarre. There's a few good performances. Don't get me wrong. I thought, a couple of players played very well, but overall, it was a very mediocre game. And then the other day, you know, we could have. I don't know. As Charlie said, we obviously trained since the weekend to play against 11, and then all of a sudden you're playing against 10 men for like 90 minutes, and it's. Obviously, it took a bit of a time to get into that after we scored. And overall, I'm pleased we got the win. Fucking delighted we got the win because, in a week, 2 fucking wins and a draw that got us to Wembley. We can't ask for more than that after the season we've had. So, overall, I don't think there's much we could say about the performance of the game. It was average at best, but a win's a fucking win. We're it's gone a long way to securing our position in League One, I believe.
Yeah, look, and we've all sort of mentioned it now in terms of the high point of the game was after 10 seconds. And I think that actually that sort of fits in well with like how good the vibe felt around the club before the game today. It just felt really positive. Like the fan zone was decent. There was the band in there. I was in there for probably half an hour, 45 minutes before going into the ground. And it just felt like an enjoyable experience. Obviously, the GH was sold out. The family stand was sold out. The main stand was sold out for the home fans. And then obviously the London Road end was nearly at capacity. I didn't check just before kickoff to see if anybody else had managed to fill it out. But it really did feel like everybody was ready to drag the team over the line. And then all of a sudden that red card happened. And it sort of felt like it was inevitable now that we were going to win the game. And it didn't feel like the crowd needed to be involved. It didn't feel like sort of there was going to be the need to sort of help the team. It felt like as soon as they went down to 10 men, it felt like the expectation was, well, the game's over. And I said it myself. It was like, well, that's it now. And then we score and we go 1-0 up. And it sort of felt like, well, how many can we score today? And then all of a sudden it's 1-1 after sort of 12 minutes. And you're like, oh God, like the worst thing that you could possibly have against the Gareth Ainsworth team is giving them something to hold on to. And to go back to 1-1 was just an absolute disaster. Fortunately, like I said, the result's the result. We've got the 3 points. But, in terms of the off-the-field activity, it definitely deserves some credit today because selling out the ground is not easy, regardless of whether there is discount codes, regardless of whether there are free tickets being given out. People still have to go on the website and they still have to buy them. So credit where it's due. It was great to see after ultimately a month without watching Posh play at home. It was great to see everywhere full.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that there was a lot of cause for optimism before the game, and you know what, we delivered a win. I think I'd like to start by highlighting a couple performers in the game. And I think the big one for me, I gave him my man of the match. I actually think I gave him quite a low rating in comparison to some people. I only gave Abraham Ado a 7.5. I know it went as high as a 9 for him in the ratings. But yeah, wow, he is really coming on leaps and bounds at the moment. He's such a creative player. I think he has a really good level of vision. He tends to pick the correct pass, 8 or 9 times out of 10, which is what you'd expect from a high-end League One winger. And he's just getting that confidence now to really attack players and to really use his skills and to use his low center of gravity to his advantage. And, I think the second goal was a perfect example of that. He's just spotted a little space in between the defender's legs, just taps it through, see you later, in, and then sets Malik up on a play. And then that last bit of skill for the Chris Clark goal. I think Fergie touched on it in his interview that it's probably going to fly under the radar about how intelligent and how good that was from Abraham Ado. He just cut it back, stopped the ball dead, left the defender absolutely sprawling, and then rather than trying to sort of whip a low ball in to Chris Clark, he could then just lay it across, tee Chris Clark up for an absolute tap in. Yeah, fantastic from Abraham Ado. And you know what? It showed a bit of versatility of him as well, because the first assist was from the left, second assist from the right. Yeah, he's come on leaps and bounds, and I'm really happy for him. I think, and this is not me trying to, say I told you so or anything like that, but I think I've probably been one of the more open to defending Abraham Ado over the season. I think it was maybe a bit unfair when he was first dropped. I don't think he did a huge amount wrong, and then he's not a very good bit part player. I don't think. I don't love him as an impact sub, but when you allow him to warm into a game and allow him to sort of experiment and feel out his fullback, and then get sort of a grasp on the game, he can be really strong. Put him 3 really decent performances this week, and Blackpool's a pitch that I'm sure it is fantastic for wingers to play on, because it's quite big, and we've had a lot of success there with wing play in the past. So he'll be licking his lips at that. And yeah, I just hope that he can continue his great form, because it's been super impressive. And I'm really happy for Abraham Ado that it finally seems to be coming good for him in a Posh shirt.
Yeah, I agree. I think Odo was my man of the match as well. Like you say, Charlie, his confidence, he has obviously taken a lot of criticism from fans. And his confidence hasn't, I don't think it's had a negative effect on his confidence at all. I think he's always just kept going for it. He doesn't sulk, he doesn't moan. He's just the same player every time in terms of attitude, and that's something that's really, really good for an attacking player. One thing he has done, obviously, his direct running at the fullback was great today, and he got his 2 assists from doing that. But his positional play in general, out of possession, when he hasn't got the ball, is good as well. Our entire left-hand side, I thought, with Edun behind him, and then Malik kept drifting out wide to the left as well. I think those 3 had a really good relationship. We seemed to get a lot of luck where Odo would come quite deep and really wide, take a player with him. And Edun had that pass straight through to the channel, which was usually Mothersill running onto it. I think he must have played that pass about 5 times in the first half alone. And it was something compared to the right-hand side that probably wasn't as effective. It was really good to see the left-hand side, a side that we've struggled with our attacking intent this season. It was good to see how much we could create from that side. I thought Edun as well was very good. And with Poku coming back on the other side, it's going to be interesting to see if we can have that fullback winger relationship that we're used to seeing. It looks like Edun and Odo have got that good relationship on the left-hand side now. Hopefully Poku and CJ can have a similar relationship when Poku's back.
Yeah, it's fair to say with Odo, we've fucking slated him all season. And rightly so, he deserves to be slated. And, the last few games, he has been very, very good. Like today, he wasn't quite my man of the match. My man of the match was Eden. I thought he was very, very good. Great goal from the corner. You can't beat that. But, you got to give credit to Odo from how he has been last few games. None of us said was like, don't start him. But he's come on, and he's done what he's had to do. And again, another solid performance today. What's that? 2-3 performances, good performances on a bounce. So, credit where it's due, because you got to take the credit from that. But overall, I thought, as I've already said about the players playing well, one thing I was disappointed with, and we've had a bit of a discussion in the group chat, I actually thought Katongo was very, very poor when he come on. The amount of times he was giving the ball away, I don't really know what he done well today, and we know that he can be half decent, but today I personally didn't see any good in him. But there we go. Can anybody sort of pick me up on that? Am I being too harsh, or is it just me?
No, I agree, Dal. I thought Katongo was really ineffective when he came on. I don't think he's really done anything this season to show his quality. Me and Charlie are actually discussing pre-game sort of how he comes back into this team, and I feel like there was 2 subs that Fergie made today that I think he's only done because of the player that's on the bench as opposed to the player that's on the pitch. I thought Collins was really good and he's brought Sissoko on just to give Sissoko minutes, which I thought was a bit unfair. And then, Donnelly, I thought Donnelly was having a great game, and it feels like he's brought Katongo on to get some minutes in him so that he can eventually come back into the first team. And I don't think Katongo's put in any performances this season to warrant coming back into the team. I don't think I'd have him at right back over Johnston when Johnston's back. I think Donnelly's earned his place at the moment at right back in Johnston's absence. And I don't think Katongo should be playing centre back over Wallin, Manny, or Hughes. So I don't understand why we use this opportunity to bring Katongo on, which, as Ashley's already said, we were 2-1 up against the Gareth Ainsworth side that could have quite easily have ruined our day. And Katongo came on at 2-1, and I just think it was a massive risk bringing him back into a game like that. Fair enough if you want to get him into minutes, but not in that situation. I think if it was Pocker, yeah, maybe, because he's our best player and he's had a really good season. But I don't think Katongo's done anything this season to warrant forcing him back into the lineup like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it was a strange one, because the last thing when you're sort of under that pressure that I would be doing is sort of changing the back four, because yes, it was a little bit scrappy in the first 15 minutes, but they then really grew into the game and it felt like they were a bit of a solid defensive unit. So to go and sort of change that, especially as Katongo, the last time he played was Bristol Rovers, and then he came on and did his hamstring again. Like, there's got to be a level of consistency, and I don't want us to be starting to take people off just so that they can get some game time. No, that's not what we're about as a football club. We're about making sure that we get the results and getting the right people on the pitch at the right time. If Fergie thought that Katongo was the right decision, then fair enough. But it didn't feel like it was fair on Donnelly. But equally, Donnelly, we've discussed it before, is that it's all about the exposure. And maybe it was just about trying to remove Donnelly from that exposure of potential risk. Look, there could have been anything could have happened in that game before we got that third goal. And it would have just been, like you say, Lodz, it would have been an absolute disaster if Shrewsbury would have scored. The place would have been absolutely rotten to the core. But all in all, we can't be disappointed with how things are. I thought that Hughes was fantastic again at the back. Wallin, although I'm sure it was Wallin that conceded the penalty, was well up for the challenge and well up for the battle against Shrewsbury's physical strikers. And as the guys have already touched on as well, Teo Adun just looks like such a fantastic left back that I think actually is going to start giving people a really big decision to make in the summer, because it wouldn't be fair to get rid of Harley Mills, I don't think. Teo Adun has obviously come in and had a really, really strong impact on the left back position. And then we've then got Rio Adebisi, who is allegedly the best left back in League Two last season, and we've not seen him play. I think it's going to give somebody a really big headache come the end of the season, because we don't need 3 left backs. That's just a matter of fact. And I don't want to see Harley Mills leave the club. Adebisi, we've got no idea whether he's actually going to be good. Yeah, Lodz is 4 if we include Jack Sparks. So I'm sure that he'll get moved on relatively quickly. And then I'd love to see Teo Adun. I think that he offers something that potentially the other two don't. So it's certainly an interesting one as we head towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my only counter to that would be Ash's. I believe we only signed him on a 6-month deal until the end of the season. I don't know whether we have an option on that or not. I don't know whether that's been confirmed. But, I mean, if he carries on playing this well, I don't see why, a bottom-end championship club or a really top-end League One club that can probably outspend us in wages wouldn't come and try and nick him off us. I mean, we're going to have to try and build a great affection for him to the club. Otherwise, you know what? He might use us as a bit of a stepping stone. And I mean, I wouldn't blame him if he did. And you know what? Get a better move off the back of it. If he did that, I think he'd leave with the best wishes of a lot of Posh fans, because he's come in and really saved us in a really, really difficult time. But I don't think we can guarantee that he'll be here next season anyway, because honestly, if he carries on playing right now, there will be a lot of eyes on him come the summer. That there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, that's also fair. But let's move on to other players. I think it was fair to say that Brad. I actually thought Brad deserved his start today. He wasn't spectacular, but you can see something about him. He's fucking hell. He's a big lad and he's strong. And I can see once he gets a run of games or whatnot, I could see him causing fucking trouble for other defenders once he gets into the run of things. But yeah, I like something about him. He's got a nice little touch every now and again. He is raw, but I think he's going to be a fucking handful. I really, really do. So now it's nice to see him start. It didn't quite materialise for him, but he got stuck in. He was doing what he needed to do. So yeah, I think he's definitely one that we need to keep hold of and develop and, see where that goes, especially in the light of, all the rumours with Ricky fucking off in the summer. So I think Brad will be our man, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to Brad, I think that he's probably not going to get the credit that he deserves over his career at Posh because, look, the goal that he scored on Wednesday was absolutely brilliant and the goal that he scored at Gillingham was brilliant. But I think that he definitely brings something different to the team, which at the moment I feel is something that we need. He brings that physicality. He brings that ability to really get himself stuck in and help get Posh up the pitch, which is important and something that we've struggled with. When Gustav was playing earlier on at the start of February, we were really struggling to link up with Gustav and sort of left him isolated. I'm looking forward to potentially seeing Gustav link up with Brad in some capacity, knowing that they can work together as a pair. I think that that's probably what Gustav is missing at the moment. I think that when we think back to the Walsall or Cheltenham game, whenever it was that he scored the 2 goals, that he was really close to Malik that night and really worked well in tandem with them, and Con Clark as well that game. And it's just nice to see that, it's something different. Obviously, JCH last season didn't play a massive impact in terms of a starter, but Brad is not that JCH type player. I think that he does actually offer more than JCH in terms of getting himself about the pitch slightly more. But it's just a relief that he certainly offers something different, which is delightful to see because we don't want to get stuck in a rut and we don't want to get stuck where teams can sort of figure us out, and being able to have another option is just fantastic position to be in at the moment.
Yeah, I think Bradley's going to become a fan favourite very quickly. I said to Charlie on the way back that if his performances was that of like a standard number 9 in terms of getting goals, I think he already would be a fan favourite. But I think there's still a lot of fans out there that don't really know what he's about. He absolutely loves it, doesn't he? He came over to the fans at full time before he even went over to any of the players. He just I think he really knows how to get the fans on side. And I agree with you, Ashley. I think if you think about our strikers next season, I know I mentioned it on the last pod, we're going to have Mothersill, Brad and Gustav as 3 strikers that probably have a shout of being in the first team. I wouldn't be surprised if we stick with having 2 strikers going into next season. The 4-2-3-1 was obviously a bit of a fail this season. We haven't really replaced Randall in terms of a number 10. Is it possible that we do play 4-4-2 next season, or the variation that we've been playing recently? In which case, I would like to quite see Ricky sort of being phased out, similar to how we phased Jono out last season. We know Ricky's not going to be here. We know that he can be an impact off of the bench. Is it time to play Brad when we can, when he's fit, with Gustav and Mothersill, and start forming a relationship between 2 strikers, which we haven't really had a strike partnership that work well together for such a long time, that we've got this great opportunity now between now and the end of the season, especially once we know we're safe, to really forge that partnership, whether it be Gustav and Brad or Brad and Mothersill, or even Mothersill and Gustav. We need to work that out before the end of the season, I think.
Yeah, I just want to move on slightly away from the players, but I don't know if anybody noticed that Fergie actually got booked today and disappeared straight away up the touchline. And there's a lot of rumours like, oh, he got sent off. He didn't get sent off at all. He just got a yellow card, and it's pathetic. It's pathetic because you got what's his name? Ainsworth was giving it large permanently. He was right in the face of the 4th official constantly. And then the next thing you know is that fucking Fergie gets a card, and there's Ainsworth laughing at his doing this to fucking Fergie, like goading him. What a prick. What a twat. But, and then obviously Fergie didn't get sent off at all. It was just a yellow card. So anyway, that was that. Just moving on, going back to some players, I think we need to come back to Con Clark, if I'm honest. Fair play to him. Fair play. He's not had the best of games the last few weeks, but he come back and, got his first goal. And you could see how much it meant to him. You could really see how much that actually goal meant to him. And this is what we want to see. We want to see fucking players like want to play for the club and, really have pride in fucking being successful for us. It's great to see. Does anybody else have any views on that? Or is it just a sort of, it is what it is?
No, I think you're right. And, at times it's felt like there's been a lack of passion on the pitch, and Con Clark getting that goal, despite it being a tap in, you could see how relieved he was. And, he came on and he wasn't on for a massive length of time, was he? But he definitely got himself stuck in. He got absolutely clattered by one of their players. And you just sort of thought, oh my goodness, here we go again. Like he's had an absolutely rotten time in terms of luck. Obviously, the collarbone against Bristol Rovers at home. He then came on and got the concussion that he had and was out for a few games. And he just looked like he couldn't get a run of games in the team. And when he did, it just wasn't working for him. So I'm sure that for himself, it was a massive delight. And I saw his partner, who was carrying his two kids, running down towards the front as well. So, in terms of that was probably a massive relief for them as well, because until you sort of get off the mark, you don't really know that it's going to work. So, you could see that it meant something to him. And I think that was probably an important goal, because when it got to that stage of the game, it felt like we probably were going to hold on for the 2-1 win, but it definitely makes it seem nicer knowing that we've won 3-1 and, a few players have managed to get themselves back on the score sheet.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a very fair summary of the game. There's a lot of positives to take and not really a huge amount of negatives at all, other than, as Dale said, a ridiculous yellow card shown to Fergie. He said in his interview it was because the fourth official claimed he waved a card in the air, a fake card. I mean, the Fergie vehemently denies it and says it doesn't happen. It's ridiculous. But there we go. That is the rub of the green at the moment in terms of officiating. Moving on to the GH display stand, which was, I think, a topic that we all wanted to discuss today. Obviously, it was completely sold out. A bit of a weird blend between sort of the atmosphere section and the younger Posh fans that were trying to create a noise, and then a lot of families in grassroots clubs as well. Lodz, I know you and I were in the stand. I mean, what were your thoughts on your experience?
Well, first of all, we should probably touch on the statement that the club put out shortly after full time about the arrest of some alleged racism from one of our fans, which obviously we don't condone, but until we know the full ins and outs of that, we probably can't point fingers. What I would say is, especially after such a big win and so close to the end of the game, putting a statement out like that is just such a negative thing towards the GH. It's obviously been quite a controversial stand in terms of the stereotype of fan that goes in there. And every time that it's a sellout, there seems to be some sort of headline that comes from it. And it's a shame that it's happened again. We didn't really see much trouble when we were in there at all. There was obviously a lot of standing up, which I don't think the stewards would have been able to stop, but there was no smoke bombs going off. I mean, I didn't hear any racism or any sort of bad chanting or anything like that. I think everyone was pretty well behaved. So it is a shame to see the headlines coming out being quite negative from the fans' point of view again.
Yeah, I think overall, I was actually really disappointed with the GHC. I thought it was very flat. I do think that contributed to obviously how the game started, but at the same time, these people that want to go in there are the people that want to try and create an atmosphere. Now, if that's what you want to do at a football game, then fine. I've got no issues with that. But if you want to do it, you've got to do it. You can't just say, oh, yeah, let's just open the GH. Look, I'd love for the GH to be open every week because I think that it will bring loads more people through the door and loads more season ticket holders. But it's just like Lodz says, it's disappointing that sort of this is now the second incident that we've had, or alleged incident, in sort of 2 weeks since Stevenage. And ultimately, if people can't be trusted, then they're not going to be given that chance. They're not going to be given that exposure. It's disappointing that the club feels that obviously it's important to acknowledge that. And again, we had a statement on Friday as well saying, reminding people of how they need to behave. That shouldn't be something that the club have to put out. It should be the standard that, look, you're going to the game of football. Okay, I appreciate that people are going to stand where they shouldn't. But the standing in the gangways, the standing in the stairwells, obviously we've seen videos of GH in the concourse on the pass becoming a little bit rowdy. I think that those that want to be in there permanently need to start taking some responsibility, because like you say, Lodz, is that it seems like every time that the GH is open and there's more than a couple of hundred people in there, there's an issue. And ultimately, they won't be able to put season ticket holders in there if people can't get a grip with what they're doing.
Yeah, I am with you on that, Ash. I think I don't think saying that the atmosphere in the GH was insanely disappointing is necessarily fair. I think, you know, it was actually a decent atmosphere in terms of the level of game. You know, I think traditionally you would have no atmosphere at all for a game like Shrewsbury at home, and there definitely was a feeling of buzz, and I think it did help the players. You know, the scenes at the end in front of the GH with the players were quite nice as well. So I would say that's unfair. But in terms of behaviour, I mean, it is a difficult one. It's a really difficult one. I think, you know, because of how little we're in the GH, every time we're in there, it sort of has the feeling of an away game, and there's always more issues at away games that are sort of popular, and there are a lot of fans at, and a lot of singing fans at. There's always more issues, and because of the sort of lack of tradition in the GH, I think that could come into it. I mean, it's a difficult one. It's because we don't want to just blame a stand for behaviour. At the end of the day, there's behaviour in all of the stands. You know, I've seen, and of course, just alleged is the same, but I've also seen comments from a few on social media saying that there was some alleged racism in the family stand as well. So it's not just people in the GH that are doing this. It's definitely an issue that, you know, antisocial behaviour is not something that shutting the GH display will do anything to solve. If anything, it's just hiding from the problem. But it is just disappointing because most of the people in the GH today had a great time. Most of the people in the GH today were just there to sing and be with their friends and enjoy the game. And there was, of course, a bit of banter, a little, but all footballing between the Peterborough fans and the Shrewsbury fans. You'd expect that when there's a singing section right next to the away end. And I think both sets of supporters enjoyed that. It didn't cross the line at all. But it's just frustrating again that one alleged idiotic act from somebody, a foolish act, you know, cowardly act from somebody has again tarred another quite successful home game, because, you know, with an 11,500 gate, we should be celebrating a very successful day at the office, but instead we're talking about a racist action again. So it's very disappointing. But I do think that the fans in the GH today did their bit to drive the team forward, excluding one obviously very poorly behaved individual.
Yeah, and I think you kind of have to praise the club a little bit for allowing it. I think they know that the fans want it. I think they are trying to allow fans to have the GH stand. Obviously, things like this don't go in the fans' favour. But there are a few things that the club do that do wind me up a little bit with the GH. That random flag or banner or whatever it was, the Proud to be Posh one at the front of the E1 and E2 block. I've got no idea why that was there when we've sold the stand out, and, you know, we should be trying to sell as many tickets as possible, especially if it being grassroots, and we must have had a good few hundred seats that were just unavailable to sell. And then they worry about overcrowding and standing up. If they opened that bit up and removed that flag, I think that probably would have avoided a lot of the issues that they had with overcrowding and people standing up. So that was disappointing. Surfing the flag, I think the flag was funded by the GH display company themselves, wasn't it? But I just think we surf it before the game, and it's like 5 minutes before the players come out every time, and I just don't understand why. Like, I think the idea of a flag display is that it happens as the players are coming out. But for whatever reason, we do it so prematurely every time. So that's frustrating. Then I said there was a big debate on Twitter about the song that we play when the players come out, and Take Me Home Country Road is obviously the one that they have been playing, and I think the fans sing quite well to that. But a lot of people are calling for the traditional Posh We Are song, which they did go with in the end, where they played both. They played Country Road first, and then they played Posh We Are. But the fans can't sing at the same tempo as Posh We Are when they're blasting it out the speakers. So what happens is they play it, Posh fans try and join in, Posh fans finish the song, and then the song carries on playing for 10 seconds later. They need to just cut it off. They need to start it so the Posh fans start singing, and then just cut it off so the Posh fans can finish it. And then at full time, they blasted out "Que Sera Sera" when the fans didn't want to sing it. And it's a bit of an atmosphere killer, all of these things, which the club just need to refine on a little bit. In terms of stewarding, though, I have criticised them in the past, and I think there wasn't any real issues. The only issue I did see was that the Shrewsbury fans let off 2 smoke bombs, and there's a bloke that's literally just in charge of detecting these and picking them up and removing them safely. And both of these smoke bombs managed to finish burning before he'd even got to the back of the stand. There was only one steward. I noticed the first one go off, and there was only one steward out of about 12 of them that noticed. And it literally finished burning before anyone even got there. They couldn't even find it. It took them that long to get there. So there's definitely some improvements to be made with the stewarding, but I did think they were a lot better today.
Okay, well, on the back of that then, Lodz, I actually was in the main stand today. I was actually in the sponsorship with CrowdSafe, ironically enough, who look after all the stewards. And, I think I had a bit of an eye opener as well, because talking to Adam, one of the guys who runs it, is there's a lot more behind the scenes that we don't really know that goes on. And if I'm honest, it was a bit of an eye opener for me. So I've got to I'm not going to take a step back and say, oh, they're all great, because, I still said there's a couple of pricks, but you're always going to get pricks everywhere. But there's a lot that goes on that we don't know about from the side of the CrowdSafe. So now fair play to them. And I did have a good day today, which also helps me from the fact that I was in the main stand, and I'm always criticising the GH because you can't really hear it because I'm normally in London Road. But to be fair, GH was pretty poor. It was poor. There's lots of empty seats. And again, it's probably because of the clientele that was in there. There was a plenty of it. There was fucking loads scattered around, Ash. And it was in London Road as well, and the main stand. But it's probably one of the worst of it, the GH. And to be fair, when there's big games and the right people in there, the atmosphere can be really, really good. No doubt about it. So, it is what it is. If you want to be in the fucking GH, behave yourself. Obviously it's alleged racism, or racism, what was said today. Behave yourself. Be good as gold, and you've got more chance of having it open for the future. Also, I heard that somebody cracked their head open in the GH, for whatever reason that is, whether they fell down, got hurt, I don't know. But, hopefully, it's not too serious and you'll be all right, ready to come at the next game. Did anybody hear about that, or was that just me? No, well, apparently he smashed his fucking, cracked his head open at the top. But, it was, London Road was London Road, nothing spectacular, and neither was GH. But disappointed with the amount of fans we had there, but we need to behave ourselves. Simple as that. Behave yourselves at all time. And if you was being that fucking prick that got a racist, that got arrested, you deserve everything you got, mate. All right? Behave your fucking selves. Enjoy the football. Anyway, shall we move on?
We should indeed. And yeah, I did see the medical issue. There was quite a lot of attention drawn to it, and I think it was responded to quite quickly by stewards, police and paramedics, and hopefully whatever happened, they're okay, and all of our thoughts are with you and your recovery. So yeah, we'll move on. We've got Blackpool away on Tuesday night, a very long trip. It just feels like they keep on coming in midweeks. Whichever Posh fans will be braving that trip, hats off to you. I'm sure, Ashley, you will be one of the few travelling up north. How are you feeling ahead of the game?
You're right, Charlie. I will be there no matter what. I absolutely love going to Blackpool. I love the stand. I love being on the side of the pitch. I love getting parked up. I love going and grabbing some fish and chips as well. And last year, we were ultimately very successful at Blackpool. 2 trips there, 2 wins. And I'm hoping that we're trending in the right direction for another win on Tuesday night. I'm not sure how Blackpool got on today, but I think that it's now getting back to the point in time in the season where we need to just worry about ourselves and focus on ourselves and focus on what we do right, which is scoring goals, is going out there, the players enjoying themselves, and just ultimately trying to put in as best of a performance that we can. I think that, you know, with some players coming back and being ready to start playing, I think that we may see a few more changes, because I'm not entirely sure that somebody like Brad, look, love the guy and he was fantastic today, I thought, but has he got another sort of 60, 70-minute performance in him in 3 days' time? Or are we going to have to rotate and bring somebody like Ricky back in or somebody like Gustav back in? That either way, I'm confident that now the team are 3 wins from 3. What's not to be excited about? And hopefully we can go up to the seaside and make it 4 from 4.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there in terms of changes will be required to just keep it fresh. I think the ones that I'd like to see happen is I'd like to see Ricky start. I think Blackpool's a nice sized pitch for him. He's had success there in the past. I actually think, you know, when he sort of first came into the team and Jono got dropped at the start of last season, Blackpool was the game where we really saw what he had to offer in terms of running in behind. He scored a fantastic goal. That was, you know, the start of it for Ricky really as a proper number 9. And I think, listen, it will suit him to get back in the team. I think in terms of other changes, I'd try and keep Ado and Hayes if possible, just because we don't really have anyone else. Poku's not going to be fit. Malik Mothersill, I think, always seems ready to go. I think his fitness levels are one of actually his best attributes. He seems like he can just chug out 90 minutes over and over again and be ready to go consistently. It's a massively positive attribute to have. I would drop Archie Collins in the midfield. I wasn't unimpressed by him today, but I think we're going to need to have a lot of passing caliber at Blackpool to break through Blackpool's team. They're going to press us a lot harder than Shrewsbury did. It's going to be very much a full press game, which means we're going to have to, if we want to play our football, which we will want to play our football, we're going to have to be really switched on. I'd have Sissoko in there with Hector Cipriano to try and, you know, give us a little bit of magic, spray some passes. And my controversial change is that I would keep the back 4 the same, bar one. I'd have Adan, Hughes, I'd have Dornelli at right back, but I would have Jadel Katongo pair Sam Hughes in the centre of defence. I think we are going to need to control the football on Tuesday night. I think that Oscar Wallin is... I think he's got a lot of upside, but he's in poor form. Made another error today. Jadel Katongo for me will be coming into the centre of defence, trying to shore things up and give us a little bit of extra style from playing out the back, because realistically, I think he's quite similar in terms of defensive profile to Wallin anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned Katongo, Charlie, because obviously we've sort of said, why did Fergie bring him on? But actually, I agree with you. I think that he does start on Tuesday night. I do, however, think that it's in replacement of James Dornelli. I think that Fergie's going to look at sort of that Dornelli's had a good run. He's had 3 really solid performances, 3 really great performances, but he wants to keep him on that trending upwards or sort of trending towards the top. We don't want Dornelli to go out there and have another absolute rotter like we've seen previously and then lose all of the confidence that he's had. So I personally would like to see Katongo starting instead of Dornelli, not because Dornelli needs dropping, but because he needs maybe some time out of the team, just have another rest again and then potentially refocus. And I don't think that it would be fair to take Wallin out and take Hughes out, because Wallin's time to come out of the team will come when somebody like Fernandez is back. It's an interesting one with Archie Collins as well, because Lodz sort of said earlier that he was good today. I'm not sure that I actually agreed with that, and I think that you're right, Charlie. I would like to see Sissoko come in for for Collins, just to offer something different. I don't think it's the passing thing, because we know that Archie Collins' passing is great when he's on it. It's just purely a case that he's not been on it for the last sort of few games. All in all, look, let's just go out there and do what we do best. Let's attack. If we attack, we'll win the game. That's how sure I am of that.
I'm with I'm agreeing with Charlie far too much tonight. I really don't know what's going on. Maybe because I've had a couple of beers and hospitality. But anyway, so I would bring Katongo in over Donnelly, purely because, you know, he needs to be sort of played sporadically, which is fine. And also, what's his name? Suso. I would bring him over Collins. Collins hasn't been particularly great. Again, I think Suso come on to Suso. Fucking hell, Mohammed come on today. He had another good game when he come on. So probably the only change that I make. And potentially, I don't know about Brad. Do we give him another start? Is fitness there? Whatever. But I don't think we should change Walling, and I don't think we should change Hughes. They've done very well. Leave Odden where it is. I don't think we need to be changing too much, but you know, let's go where we need to go. So I like Blackpool. We have had a decent run up there of late. You know, I'm looking forward to the travel up there with you, Ash. Hopefully it'll be quite eventful, in a nice way. And you know, go and get a fish and chips. So bring on Blackpool. It'd be good to see a few fans up there, and hopefully we can get over 3 points.
I wouldn't actually change anything. I'd stick with the exact same 11 that I've played today. I don't think Fergie will. I agree with Ashley. I think he's trying to set it up so Katongo comes in for Donnelly, purely for the same reason Ashley said as well. I think he's going to want to manage his minutes, and he's looking for a reason to get him out whilst his form is good. Going back to the Collins thing, I think today's a bit of a difficult way to assess it, because you would expect your midfielders to be dominant against 10 men, and they were at the end of the day. Cipriano and Collins, we had 80% possession. We might not have been very good in front of goal, but in terms of the midfield, I've got no qualms with their performance today. I think Collins and Cipriano's relationship is just so much better than any other midfield partnership we've had, and I know I called for Sissoko to start last week, predicting today's lineup, but I think when you've got a partnership that's that good, both on and off the pitch, I think you need to stick with it, especially in midfield. Your midfield two are your most important partnership on the pitch, and I think they're going to be key to keeping this run going. As much as I like Sissoko, and I do agree that his passing range is fantastic, and he hasn't really put in a bad performance when he has played, I would play Cipriano and Collins as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, and I think either way, we're going into Tuesday night with a very strong midfield, which is, you know, a massive plus. I think that all that's left to do then is to move on to our score predictions for the game. I'll start with you, Ash. You're usually very optimistic with these. Are you going to continue on that streak?
You best believe I am. Like I said, I love going to Blackpool. We've got a great success there recently. I stupidly predicted that we were going to win 5-0 and keep a clean sheet. How very moronic of me that was. I won't be making that mistake again. But we are going to win, and we are going to win 4-1. Malik Mothersill likes playing at Blackpool. He's going to get 2. Sam Hughes is going to score. I'm so sure of it. And then let's go with Cipriano to get another goal and to sort of really bring back that regen that we've seen since I gave him an earful at Bristol Rovers. 4-1 from me.
Okay, well, just before I do my prediction, I do believe I predicted Wrexham 2-2 and to win on penalties, which come true. I also believe that I predicted Peterborough to win 3-1 today, and that come true. So that's 2 out of 2. So I'm going to go for the hat-trick, and I'm going to go Peterborough 3, Blackpool 2. I ain't got a clue who's going to fucking score. I don't give a shit. But I'm going 3-2 to Peterborough. Bring it on.
Yeah, I said sort of during the second half today and afterwards that I think we'll beat Blackpool, but I think I'm going to be a bit more reserved now. Now I've thought about it. I think there is a real opportunity for us to go unbeaten in March, but there are going to be some absolutely slog draws. I know you put it in the face, Ashley, but Fergie in March is excellent, isn't he? So I think this will be one of the slog draws that we get. I think it'll be a battle. I think the players are close to burning out because of the intense schedule that they've had. So I am going to go for a 1-1 draw.
I think, listen, this season has been a tale of hot and cold for the attack. I think they were a little bit cold today, lukewarm at best, which means I reckon they are going to be on it on Tuesday night. I think we'll go to Blackpool. I think we're going to concede. I think we're going to concede a few. I think we'll concede 2. But I'm going to actually go for a repeat of last season's score in the league, 4-2 to Posh. And I'm going to go for a Ricky J. Jones hat trick. That's right. I feel like that it's his night. And I'm also going to go for Gustav Lindgren to come off the bench and get his first league goal for Posh as well. So that's my score prediction. And let's hope it comes true. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching and listening to this episode of Up The Poshcast. We will be back again post Blackpool, looking ahead to Wickham at the weekend. Listen, we are so back, Peterborough United. We were beginning to fear that we were becoming a curse at this podcast. You know, we started it and we've had an absolute stinker season, but we are so on the rise. So thank you very much for listening. And we'll see you on the next one. Up The Poshcast.
Up The Poshcast.
Up the fucking Poshcast. Thank you all for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Up The Poshcast. Let us know your feedback. Give us any ideas for topics you would like us to discuss or any questions you'd like us to answer. Up The Poshcast.
As long as Phil doesn't turn up to the away game on Tuesday night, we'll be all right and we'll win.